Welcome to highlights of round 2 of HRZN Racing League's 6th season. I'm Chris, otherwise known as Screamlight, going to be taking you through the highlights from Albert Park. And this is the first time in quite a little bit that we have arrived down under. But before we get into the ins and outs of this one, let's take a look at the calendar and the results from the first round. As you can see, I'm Your Mate took victory in Singapore. We head now to Australia before Spain, Belgium, Imola, Austria, Japan, Qatar, Abu Dhabi and Las Vegas, and round 5 will be decided live. I'm Your Mate took victory and fastest lap ahead of the Scottish, who took driver of the day. Six Pompano completed the podium with Elijah, Psych Snipes, Bunny's Vengeance, Aim 44, Bazza, Sprout and Perpetual taking your top 10. Andy was the only driver to get participation points. That means that I'm Your Mate leads the way. It's an all platinum top 3 with the Scottish and Six Pompano there as well. Elijah, Psych Snipes, Bunny's Vengeance, Aim, Bazza, Sprout, Perpetual and Andy the point scorers. And you'll notice at the end our championship increases to 28 drivers by the end of this one. In the Platinum class, I'm Your Mate leads the way by 4 points ahead of the Scottish with Six Pompano in third. Vampire and Tommy Ash didn't finish and didn't get off the mark. In the Gold class, Elijah took the lead ahead of Psych Snipes, with Bunny's Vengeance, Sprout and Perpetual all getting on the board. In Silver, Aim 44 took the lead there ahead of Bazza and Andy. Vibs didn't manage to finish, and 3 Portas has yet to compete. In Bronze class, Matt Chan and Rover were the only ones to start the race in Singapore. Neither managed to finish, which means that they are all square on 0 points with Davasaurus and Thundercart, who join in Australia. And in D class, Scornful, Griffin and Jimmy Alex were the only ones to compete. Scorn was the only one to finish. Jimmy will slot in second. This class will also jump up to 9 by the end of the Australian Grand Prix. And then the Constructors Ferrari lead the way ahead of Haas, with McLaren and RB in close pursuit. Alpine, Sauber, Williams and Red Bull took points. Mercedes didn't have any drivers finish. HRZN Racing didn't have any drivers finish, nor did Aston Martin, so they're all yet to get off the mark. So Albert Park then, a circuit that's been on the F1 calendar since 1996. Let's take a look around this iconic venue that was altered back in 2021. The Albert Park circuit's 5.278 kilometres, 14 turns, first held in 1996. Michael Schumacher and Lex Davidson hold the most Australian Grand Prix wins of all time, while the Scottish and Manses have taken victories in HRZN. This is a circuit I think a lot of us who've been following Formula 1 for a while know and love. As you head down towards Brabham and Jones, this 1-2 punch at the start, you can take a huge amount of speed through there before getting a DRS zone down towards turn number 3. As a heavy braking zone has been opened up a touch over the years, this corner, so you can take a wider entry point as you head into 4 and then into Whiteford, turn number 5. This, you need to keep your foot in and run it right out to the apex as best you can before heading up to 6 and 7. A really rapid chicane now that it's been opened. And then it's this long drag through 9, through Clark and down through 10 as you head down this DRS section of track. This is the high speed part of this circuit, and you can carry a huge amount of speed through the 11 and 12 chicane at the end here. It leads straight into another DRS zone. You can take a little bit of curb on both entry and exit point there as you head down towards Ascari, which is one of the corners that's been tightened over the years. Really have to slow it up, but you've got a lot of space to play with on the exit before heading into Stewart at 14, and then it's a quick brake situation into 15 in Prost, and then you can glide it through turn 16 before getting another dose of DRS, and across the line to end another lap of Albert Park. So that was Albert Park. Let's see how our drivers lined up for round 2 of season 6. I'm your mate took yet another pole position ahead of AIM 44. Six Pompano slotted into third with Syke Snipes, Sprout, Bazza, Thundercart on league debut. There in 7th place, Perpetual, Syme and Davasaurus completing your top 10. Elijah, Bunny's Vengeance, Andy, Mac-Chan, Vebs, Joker on his league debut, and the Scottish, who joined late, starts in P17. So that's your grid. Here's your highlights of the Australian Grand Prix. One light, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, and 5. And away we go in Australia. The hold wasn't all that long. I'm your mate gets another fantastic start as always and leads them clearly away at the front. AIM holds P2. Six Pompano a little wider. There's movement down in the lower end. 10-second penalty for a collision for Joker and Vibs. Andy's involved in it as well. Let's look at a couple of angles of that start line incident. First, we'll start with Andy in the Alpine. Gets away well, drops the clutch at the perfect sort of time, manages to keep ahead of the pack behind. You can see Vibs in the mirror just coming up along the right hand side, and then all of a sudden into the wall, wing damage, car backwards. Really just a passenger in that incident, manages to get the car spun round and slowly make his way away from the scene of the accident. And we'll look at that from on board with Vibs as well, because the catalyst comes from behind. Watch the rear view mirror at the top of the screen. Vibs also gets a great start, finds a gap through the middle. Mac-Chan's backing off to avoid any incident. As you can see, the Aston brakes late, hits Vibs, who hits the Alpine. There was no further action as the game gave an in-game penalty to Joker for the incident, but there is one penalty point on Joker's licence.
Seeing major front wing damage. Box, box, box.
Vibs has got damage. Joker has damage. Andy also has damage. We've got cars in the mid-pack. JJ's falling backwards. He's between 3. He's got the Scottish and Mac-Chan behind him. As Bunny's Vengeance goes by in the Williams, we've had carnage at turn 1, and it'll be interesting to mop that one up later. But the Joker already with a 10-second penalty in turn 1 of his debut. We've got Syme here trying to work on Perpetual, looking up the inside into the chicane, but he's not going to be close enough. Elijah's going to try it maybe. No, he backs it off. Everybody else seems to have settled into a bit of a single file for now. It's only 0.7 of a second between I'm Your Mate and AIM. It's not as big a gap as we had at the top end of last week. But Joker well off the road. Andy behind him. Also well off the road, missing half a front wing. Vibs too. That's going to be a long road back for those guys. But the Scottish already on the back of JJ. 23.3 for I'm Your Mate. Let's stay on board with the Scottish. He's got such a great run out of the final corner. And he's going to get easily past the RB before the braking point at turn number 1. DRS will be enabled this lap. There is a DRS pass, I think. We've got Bunny's Vengeance going past Dabasaurus as Joker nets another 10 seconds for speeding in the pit lane. It's not been a great start for the newbie. But Bunny's Vengeance making a DRS overtake as the Scottish goes past Dabasaurus, who's off the road. That's going to compromise him as we get down into that chicane, and JJ sweeps around the outside. Mac-Chan is now going to have a look at the Mercedes as Six Pompano has passed AIM up front, or has he? They are fighting tooth and nail. We'll move to that in just a second. Davasaurus with DRS holding the inside, keeping Matt Chan behind him. Great defensive driving from the Mercedes, but Syme moved past Perpetual, who's now got Elijah for company. That's right on board with the Haas, and he's passed the Red Bull straight away as the Scottish went past Bunny's Vengeance behind. The Scottish just coolly and calmly making his way through the field. But the other big pass was between Six and AIM, but AIM is now going to have DRS. We'll ride on board with the Sauber. Big kick of oversteer through the final corner. Sykes Snopes hanging on as well. Not close enough to make a move as the Scottish moves past Perpetual into P9. It just relentless. The Scottish coming from the back there. Moves being made all over the place. Let's stay with the Scottish for a moment, I think, because he's right on the back of Simon Elijah and he's going to get DRS. And Elijah has proven how quick he can be. Really proved that in Singapore last week, but as the Scottish got a second wind coming through the field here, as he got the edge on the Haas driver. Doesn't go past this time, but Elijah's held up by Syme. The Scottish is almost pushing the Haas along, has to back off. Is he going to go for the move? It's going to be late if he does. He looks up the inside at Ascari, clips the sausage curb, bounces off the inside of the Haas, but he's had to cede the position. He's backed off. But he's not really lost any time. He's right on the back of Elijah as I'm your mate. Sets another fastest lap. He's 2.8 clear of 6. The Scottish opened the DRS, got really loose, trying to avoid the back of the Haas, and he's going to have to keep an eye in his mirrors on Bunny's Vengeance, but Bunny doesn't go for it. Sproke being caught by Syme and the little gang of cars behind him, but that doesn't seem to matter too much as Bazza is right on the back of Sykes Snipes, who's in turn right on the back of AIM and Six. In fact, let's go to that battle there as AIM goes up the inside of Six Pompano towards the chicane using the DRS. Six a little bit of a sitting duck at the front of the queue. Is he going to have the DRS? He is not. So he's going to have to defend again from Sykes Snipes. Sprout now heading up this queue of what is now 5 drivers. It's the Scottish in the middle will follow. You'll just see him dip out. He'd already got past Elijah. He goes past Syme into Braverman Jones. He'll now chase Sprout, and then it'll be a bit of a space, bit of a gap to go and try and catch up with the 4 at the front as AIM has gone backwards. I don't know what's happened there, but 6 has moved through. Sykes Snipes has moved through. Let's take a look at what happened to AIM there from Six Pompano's viewpoint. He goes through Braverman Jones, looking pretty clean and tidy as he gets the DRS behind the Sauber. And as we head into turn number 3, you can see that AIM goes a little to the right, almost as if they lose the rear end, almost into the wall.
The wall just gives me
Six can get past without too much hassle. Bazza taking a look at this one as well. Will ride on board with the Welshman in the Haas. He's at the back of the queue, so DRS will pull him along. He's not quite close enough here. I was going to say let's go back and watch the Scottish take a position, but he's already past Sprout by the time we get there. Let's look in the middle of this battle though, because you've got Syme trying to defend from Elijah, trying to also look at fighting through Sprout. And it's all getting a little bit feisty there. Syme and Elijah side by side. They're still side by side going towards Prost. And that's allowed Bunny's Vengeance to get involved. He's trying to go around the outside at Prost. He's at the inside into the final corner. Bunny's Vengeance with some absolutely opportunistic moves in the Williams. And he's off and away. The Scottish has already pulled away from this group. Sprout has now got a little bit of breathing room as they all fight each other. But through goes Bunny's Vengeance in the Williams. Let's look at all of that from on board with Bunny's Vengeance. You can see Elijah trying to go around the outside of DRS Syme here. But the Aston Martin holds position on the inside. Pushes Elijah wide onto the curb it, which may unsettle him in terms of traction. There's almost contact there. Bunny's Vengeance then finds a gap on the outside as they go through Prost. which means he's now inside going into the final corner. Really heads-up driver from the Northern Irish driver. Perpetual and JJ having a little bit of a fight here. The RB and the RB and the Red Bull, and Perpetual's run out wide, and through goes JJ. Fairly easy pass. Looked like Perpetual either allowed it, or he's going to come back. Going to come back at the inside? No, not quite. He's going to have to just back it out a little bit. But we've got Bazza going past AIM up ahead. They're side by side into Brabham and Jones, and Bazza's made the move into 4th place for Bazza. They've dropped off the back of Snipes, maybe just a touch. Bazza just confident there to just put the car in the right place to block the Sauber out. Beautiful driving, great defensive work there as well. Really, again, as I said, really coming out swinging. We saw last week the Saubers trying to run a long strap on the hard tyres, which didn't quite work out for them. A few people may be attempting to do the same here. The mediums obviously will hold out for a lot longer than the softs would have, as AIM is going to come back at Bazza. We'll ride on board, and they're through. They are through. As Davasaurus and Mac-chan also going, but we've got a 3-way tussle here. Sproat trying to come around the outside of Bunny and manages it into Ascari. Good move there to retake the position. Fighting tooth and nail for the lower order of the points, but with points for each individual classification split, every position matters, as AIM is the first one to blink this week in the Sauber, the first in. Let's go back to Bunny's Vengeance, Sprout and Elijah, as Elijah takes another look into Ascari. Once again, nothing doing there. Bunny's Vengeance now, though, leads the queue as the Scottish closes up to the back of Bazza. Really getting some big drifts off that final corner, looking more and more out of control as he does, but every time keeps the car pointing in the right direction. Running the hard tyres, so trying to run a longer first stint. Should easily breeze past Bazza with the DRS, and does so. Bazza nearly gets into the back of him. This battle looks to have maybe eased off a touch. They've all got just a little bit of space between them. Simon's dropped off the back of them as well. So whether he's made a mistake somewhere, I don't know. But Bunny's Vengeance is the, well, sitting Bunny, shall we say. No DRS. Sprout will go up the inside. Fairly easy DRS move into Ascari, but he runs deep, and Bunny will try and do the cutback. 6 Pompanos in further forward. Bunny is fighting that one tooth and nail, and will try and once again go around the outside at Prost. Sprout gives him the space. Bunny continues to be there. Bunny's Vengeance is absolutely fighting every inch of racetrack. They're side by side into Brabham and Jones, but Bunny has to slot in behind. Back with Bunny's Vengeance, who seems to be having all of the fun in this race. This time a battle with Sprout. He's leading the pack here, so he's got no DRS, which gives Sprout the opportunity to go up the inside. Bunny brakes earlier, gets the car turned, and manages to dive back up the inside with the up and under. Keeps the kick Sauber there. The nose is on the inside, again, gives great racing room going into Prost, much like he'd done earlier on in the race. Gets up the inside into the final corner, but it looks like the car tries to break traction a touch, which compromises his exit. Sprout's able to use the DRS to just about get away as Bunny slots in behind. We'll watch that on board with the Sauber as well. Don't worry about the lack of music in the background. As you can see, Sprout here with the DRS goes for the inside line. The overspeed is huge, but he's struggling to get it slowed down on very worn tyres, which gives Bunny that opportunity to come back up the inside. Again, racing room here is fantastic from both of them. Really great respect. Goes up the inside into Prost, but he knows that Bunny's Vengeance is there. And as he's about to say, as they almost make contact, he was actually aiming to go into the pits and was unable to because the Williams was on the inside.
Decent.
So I couldn't box because he was on the pit lane side.
JJ himself fighting Sime up ahead. He's in the middle of this battle. He's on the hard tyres as well, but AIM just breezes around the outside. So much more traction on those tyres. On the mediums as Bunny goes back past Sprout. Actually, Sprout's gone backwards by 2. Elijah's dive past as well. as Aim also goes past Sign further back. That's a double move from Aim on the fresher tyres, as I'm Your Mate is now in. JJ goes up the inside of DRS Sign. I think his tyres have fallen off the cliff in the Aston Martin, because he's going backwards at a fair rate of knots. Bunny's Vengeance still just holding off Elijah at the moment, but Aim is going to look to go past both of them and try and hunt down I'm Your Mate as 6 passes Sign for 9th place. The 2 RBs now line astern on the road. I'd assume JJ, not going to make too much of a hassle for 6 there. Lets him through.
Seconds still, so I mean,
Here we are with 6 Pompano hunting down DRS Sign. He gets the DRS going down towards turn 3. Sign keeps it right in the middle of the track and actually makes it difficult for 6. There's a little bit of contact you can see from the hand wave, but just as they head up towards Whiteford, he's made the pass, and as he goes through Whiteford, Thundercart will back off and let his teammate through. As the Scottish moves into the lead of this race past Syke Snipes. Moves are happening pretty much all the time at the moment. It's constant action. Baz are in a little bit of a gap of his own as Elijah moves past Bunny. Aim is going to try and move past Bunny as well, and does so. And is now going to, I think, just try and get past Elijah too. And they do. They're at the inside, and they're back on the chase. And 1.1 seconds behind I'm Your Mate. There could be a fight for the lead brewing here. As, 6 has gone past Bunny with the DRS, and he's going to try and go for Elijah as well, and he gets by. He's through. He's now on the back of Aim. He's 1.7 seconds to close up. Aim has dropped off by 1.6, 1.7 seconds on I'm Your Mate, who's now stretching his legs and running away. He's already back up to the rear of Baz's Haas to set another fight. Oh, it's a 119.3 from 6. 6 is now pushing hard. He's right up to the back of the Sauber. As who else have we got in? Elijah's in. Bunny's Vengeance is in. JJ gets a 3-second time penalty for track limits warnings. First track limits warnings penalty. We'll ride on board with 6 for a moment though, because he's on the back of the Sauber. Looks like he's got more pace. So much more pace. Round the outside before they even get out of the corner, and he's off and away. Aim's going to have DRS, but it's on the mediums, and they're not going to run to the end of this race. It looks like it's a 2-stop for the Sauber. As Sprout, Bunny's Vengeance, and now Dabasaurus all fighting together. Bazza with a 3-second time penalty. But Dabasaurus being in front of Sprout and Bunny's Vengeance, currently playing into Baz's hands with that penalty. As we'll watch Sprout probably go around the outside of Dabasaurus here. The Mercedes looks like a sitting duck. We're almost 3 wide in the middle. Dabasaurus, there's nothing he can do. No DRS. Sprout gets through. Bunny's Vengeance gets through. I think we were about to see Elijah do the same. We'll ride on board with the Haas. Look up ahead as well as Bunny's Vengeance is looking at Sprout. Elijah, is he going to go for it? Oh, he's late moving out. Taps the back of the Mercedes. Backs off, lets Dabasaurus go. I think Dabasaurus is probably the tyres have gone. As Aim is now in the pits again. Those medium tyres have given up. Should be able to run to the end on another set, you'd think. But that'll bring them out behind Syke Snipes. And JJ as well, who's still yet to pit, but he's got Bazza now for company. The Haas on fresher rubber. JJ does look to be struggling. Struggling getting the traction down. Bazza, he's just going to take a look. He's not going to do anything rash. I think he knows that the game is up for the RB ahead. You can see how much of a struggle it is to get out of those corners. As Bunny's Vengeance and Aim are fighting side by side further back. Aim is going to go around the outside on the fresher rubber and then have the inside for that corner and is through. Bunny's Vengeance, though, not giving that one up without a fight. Let's move up to Bazza, who, as we do, straight past JJ. Easy done. The RB still yet to pit, I think. JJ has finally given up the ghost and is in. So we'll slip back as Bunny's Vengeance goes past Aim with the DRS. Sprout now, though, with a 3-second time penalty for multiple track limit warnings. So that's going to cost him as well. Davasaurus is also in. JJ has lost another position to Perpetual, so it's outside of the points. But at the moment, everybody in gold, silver, and bronze will be picking up participation points for finishing. We've had no DNFs as yet. But it really is this battle in the midfield. Bunny's Vengeance currently leading it. Aim's going to look for a move here, you feel, but is being forced to the outside by Bunny's Vengeance. Smart driving by the Northern Irishman. But the Sauber, quick enough with the DRS and the fresher tyres, goes through. We'll have the DRS on the second part as well. That might push Aim just a little bit too far out of Bunny's range, but he's sticking with the Sauber. Elijah now as well on the back of this battle as the Scottish sets an 18.1 on the medium tyres. JJ closing up to the back of Perpetual. Let's run to that battle, because they could still close up to Syme here, you know. Let's ride on board with the RB. Perpetual taking an unusual line out of there, but it seems to be just to break the toe as Elijah now gets a 3-second time penalty. Is JJ going to try and go around the outside into the chicane? No, he's not. Backs it off. Safe, sensible driving. He's got the tyre advantage on Perpetual here. Seems to have the pace advantage at this stage as well. Should be able to dive up the inside of the Red Bull. And through he goes as Andy moves past Joker, who's dived into the pits at the back of the field. Bunny's Vengeance now back past Aim, further ahead. This battle could rage on for the rest of this race, and time penalties, as I said, are going to certainly count against a couple of those guys, I think. At the moment, Bunny the only one without time pens as Elijah goes up the inside of Sprout and is through. But it does look like Sprout is just falling off the back of Elijah's hat a little bit here. So it is really Bunny's Vengeance and Aim, but we've got a yellow. Elijah's round. Elijah's dropped it. And I think he's got front wing damage, you know. So that puts JJ back in the top 10. Syme goes past as well. Perpetual also goes by. And we can see what caused Elijah to spin. Just loses rear traction going through turn 4, clips the wall. You can see he's frustrated with himself, and then it's just a case of trying to get the car spun back round. He is ghosting, but being respectful, not getting in the way of any other drivers as they come through. Manages to flick spin the car, and it's a slow crawl back to the pits for repairs. And JJ's close to Syme, so might be having a go here. Let's ride on board with the RB. The medium tyres have really come alive on that car. Syme gets across. JJ's trying to look for space. Sells the dummy. Is through on the inside and moves up another position. Can he get away from Syme for that 3-second penalty not to matter? It looks to have the pace on him at the moment on the fresher, faster tyres. The Scottish now just outside of DRS on 6 Pompano. Let's ride on board with our Season 1 champion. And cue the Jaws music, because he's already within DRS in a couple of corners. Rides the grass a little bit there. We'll be getting DRS down here. 6 Pompano may not have a huge amount to defend with 5 to go. It's going to have to be some defensive drive, but I think the Scottish is on faster, fresher tyres. Much like JJ further down the field is just eating up the distance between him and the car in front. Joker gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple track limits warnings as he closes up to the back of Andy. That battle to not finish in 17th and last. The Scottish is going to get DRS into turns 1 and 2 into Brabham and Jones, and I feel like the move will be made there. I'm your mate 12 seconds up the road, probably too far away to be caught by the McLaren man. But 6 Pompano not looking too defensive. The Scottish though knows he can do this at any time. Backs out of an audacious move. Yep, 6 has got nothing to defend with there, I think. He knows it. And then the Scottish is through. Stays close to try and spook the Scottish into a mistake, but that's not something that happens all that often. Chan now fighting with Elijah. Elijah, fresher tyres, recently pitted obviously to replace the front wing. He's not going to make a dive bomb move into turn one. I think there might have been a little bit of contact, as it looked like the McLaren got nudged along a little bit as Vibbs goes past Syme further up. Vibbs on a little bit of a comeback after a disastrous turn one lap one, up to 11th place, driving fairly calm and consistent out there as Machan slides it right up to the barriers. This is one of a couple of battles on track. This 6 Scottish one has settled down. It's Aim and Bunny's Vengeance, realistically, I think the only other battle out on track. As Machan defends robustly, but Elijah's around the outside with DRS and fresher tyres. He's through, he'll be on his way, and pretty sure that was I Knew Mate in front of them, flashing through camera shot. And that little battle is going to swap around at the end, regardless of how it ends on track, if they all remain this close together. As Aim bounces off the wall, and I think has picked up damage, lost part of the front wing end plate, and then gets another 3 seconds for track limits. And that should mean that Bazza will stay in front of them regardless, unless Aim manages to finish ahead of Bazza on the road. Bazza defending, knows he's got 2 cars for company here. Let's ride on board with Bunny's Vengeance at the back of this one. Again, knows he doesn't need to make a dive bomb move, just needs to keep calm, stay close, as I Knew Mate is on the penultimate lap of this race. Yeah, Bunny's Vengeance really just driving within himself here a little bit, as we've got a yellow flag in Sector 1. Who's done what and where? It looked like Andy was running slowly. As take a little look at the cause of that yellow flag, then it was indeed Andy. Hands down to Brabham and Jones. Gets through Brabham, but the rear gets away from him through Jones. Straight into the wall, takes the entire front wing off. Pretty bad day for Andy. As Aim goes past Bazza, that's a move that could actually keep that position static. Bazza really will be wanting to get past, as I Knew Mate is on the final lap of this one. I really want to watch this battle for the entire time, but we do need to cross over to our leaders at some point, as Aim nearly gets it all out of shape into the final few corners. Bazza basically pushing the Sabre along. Perpetual rejoins. Has lost a fair amount of time to Vibbs, but hopefully can get back on the throttle and try and keep ahead of the Williams for his position, as Bazza is going to go past Aim. Bunny's Vengeance is possibly going to do the same as well. Bunny's Vengeance backs off, knows doesn't need to really fight it too hard. Let's stay with this battle into the next DRS zone before we cross over to I Knew Mate, who's surely coming to the end of this one. I Knew Mate running through the final part of the lap. He's just lapped Elijah. He's closing up to Dabasaurus to lap in. Andy is pitting in, as is Perpetual. Perpetual's gone into the pits. That's moved Vibbs into P10. But I Knew Mate comes round Prost and will come round the final corner of the final lap to take victory number 2 in Horizon in Season 6. Dabasaurus moves past Perpetual at the end there, as Perpetual sat in the pits and finishes a lap down. Bunny's Vengeance is fighting and past Aim, as the Scottish will cross the line just ahead of 6 Pompano. Andy's done for the day, Joker's done, Machan, Elijah, Syme all a lap down and finished. Syke Snipes will cross the line in P4 out on his own, very much running a clean and tidy race. Aim leaves the session right at the death. That could be a disconnect, but Bazza crosses the line. 5th place. Bunny's Vengeance, though, will take 5th. Aim, with half a front wing, will finish 7th. Let's take a look at this battle that raged all the way to the line between Bunny, Aim and Bazza. Bunny at the back of the queue at the moment. Aim and Bazza up ahead. You'll hear now. Oh, that reaction says it all. There's a little bit of damage to the front wing of the Sabre, who was trying to get past Bazza, but Aim then struggles through the second part of the chicane, gives Bunny an easy overtake. Sprout will now head towards the line in P8 out on his own. Dabasaurus is also done for the day, I think. a lap down. Sproat will cross the line in P8. JJ will cross the line in P9. Vibs in P10. Dabasaurus is not a lap down, actually. I don't think Dabasaurus will be last across the line on the lead lap, I believe. Vibs comes around the final corner. Really great recovery to come home 10th and take overall points. And yet Dabasaurus yet to finish. Round Prost. And round the final corner, Dabasaurus will take P11 and cross the line there. But I'm Your Mate will be the winner again. So that was Australia. That was round 2. Let's take a look at the classified finishing results. I'm Your Mate took victory over the Scottish by 13.9 seconds, but the Scottish picked up fastest lap. Six Pompano took third for the second race, running with Sykes Snipes, Bunny's Vengeance, Bazza, Ames, Sproat, Thundercart and Vibs taking the top 10. Dabasaurus, Perpetual, Elijah, Matt Chan and Andy got participation points and Vibs got driver of the day. That means that in the driver's standings, I'm Your Mate, the Scottish and Six Pompano remain in exactly the same positions, but Sykes Snipes, Bunny's Vengeance, Aim and Bazza all jump Elijah. Sproat moves into the top 10 alongside Thundercart and jumps all the way to 10th. Andy drops with Perpetual, Dabasaurus and Mac Chan also moving up. In Platinum, I'm Your Mate leads the way now by 8 points from the Scottish with Six Pompano third. No Vampire and no Tommy means they remain on 0. In the gold class, Sykes Snipes now leads the way by 7 ahead of Bunny's Vengeance. Elijah a third point back, with Sproat and Perpetual in very close proximity as well. In silver, Aim and Bazza level on points at the top, 13 clear of Andy, who's now being chased by Vibs. 3 Portas yet to take a start, so remains on 0. In bronze, we have points on the board for Thundercart, Dabasaurus and Mac-Chan, who all get their first points on the board. Rover didn't compete, so doesn't take any from this one. And as I mentioned back at the start, we have now 9 drivers in the declassified standings. Scorn and Syme level on points. Joker took points despite finishing down near the back. Jimmy Alex, Cress, Lil Reeves, Jacob Steadfast and new reservist Louis LTFC07 all on 0. In the Constructors, Ferrari lead the way by 4 points, now ahead of McLaren, who jumped into second. RB moved up to third ahead of Haas, who've slipped back to fourth. Alpine, Sauber, Williams, Red Bull and Mercedes all on the board. No Astons in this race and the reservists didn't get overall points. So we're 2 rounds down, the top 3 has remained the same for both of them and nobody can stop I'm Your Mate. Will they have a chance in Spain next time? Thank you so much for watching. Like, share, subscribe, comment, do all the good stuff. See you for the next one.